Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate all the support and the liking and the subscribing and getting notifications. I really do appreciate everybody that's trying to help this channel grow. It means a lot to us here at Paycheck Plus. So today I want to jump on real quick and talk about workers' compensation insurance. We get a lot of questions about this and trying to determine, the what, the why, the where, the how, the who on workers' compensation insurance. And while we're not an insurance company, obviously doing payroll and taxes, it does dovetail into these business decisions and these business policies, particularly with payroll, and I'll cover that. So work comp is very much tied into payroll for many reasons. And we'll try to get to that right now. So the first one, again, I wanted to cover the what, the why, the who, the when, all the questions that we get. So what is workers' compensation? Well, workers' compensation is not health insurance, and it is not liability insurance. It's not business insurance. Although a business buys it, what workers' compensation is basically insurance against workplace accidents. It covers your labor, it covers your employees, it covers your contractors if you have subcontractors, and obviously it covers yourself as the owner if that's the case. So again, it is not health insurance, but it does cover workplace accidents while on the job. That could be within a building or at a job site, driving back and forth to a site or to a location. So it's what it's primarily for, is for that type of insurance. So why get workers' compensation insurance? Well, as you can imagine from what it is, it's just good business. It's always a good idea to take care of your workforce and your contractors. And this would be a way to certainly do that by covering their accidents for them. Who should get this? Well, we've already kind of covered it. So if you're self-employed or you have your own business, you're a partner in a business, this would be for you. So who gets it? Those that have their own business and have labor. Okay, again, employees or contractors, either one. So when do I get this? Well, I would encourage people to get it just as soon as you have employees. It's always a good idea to start just like any other insurance. The quicker you can get it, the sooner in the game you can get it, the better. Again, insurance has premiums. It comes with a cost. Nobody wants additional cost when they're running their own business, but been doing this a long time. I've seen where workers' compensation can really help save a business from potential lawsuits and other things. Plus, here in Virginia, they have a workers' compensation commission that regulates the industry. And in Virginia, the rule is if you've got 3 or more employees, full-time employees, it's mandatory. So you might have 5 employees and think, golly, I don't do anything. I do some admin, maybe I do some clerical, maybe I'm just not in a real risky business. Doesn't matter. If Virginia says if you've got 3 or more full-time employees, and full-time is a definition, I believe it's 32 hours. I need to really double check that, but full-time employee, I believe, is 32 hours. If you've got 3 or more, again, it's mandatory, and Virginia expects you to get that. So how do I get workers' compensation? Well, any insurance company that sells property and casualty insurance would be able to write you a policy. Now at this point, if you already have a business and you've got health insurance or you've got liability insurance or maybe automobile or truck insurance, tool insurance, if you already have an existing relationship with an agency, obviously it makes sense to go with that because just like anything, if you bundle, the more that you buy, you should be able to get a premium discount, rather than just going to an agency that has no policies on you and you just have them write a work comp policy. So go to the agency and they would be able to bundle it or possibly roll it into some other insurance to get you a better price. So how is that calculated? So work comp is calculated a little bit differently than other insurance. So the 2 components for work comp is your payroll and what you do. So the payroll component's pretty easy. That is what it is. Whatever your gross wages are for a 365-day period, plus your contractors, okay? So if you do have contractors that come on your job site, they would be covered underneath that, and your policy would pick them up. So you calculate work comp, your wages or your payroll or your contract labor times a percentage or a rate. Now, what determines the rate is the riskiness, if that's a word, of your line of work. So if I'm sitting here doing tax returns all day long, doing admin work, clerical work, my work comp rate's going to be really, really low. It might even be a penny or two on the dollar. But if I'm doing electrical work, or certainly if I'm up off the ground doing roofing, my percentage might even be higher. I think electrical work might be 6-7%. I've seen roofing as high as 20 to 22%. And basically what that is, for every $100 in payroll, $22 it would cost you if you were a roofer. Okay, so let's say the electrical rate is 5%. So for every $100 in payroll you would have, it would cost you $5 to have work comp coverage. So again, the calculation is your labor times a rate or a factor, a percentage based on the riskiness of whatever it is that you're doing for a living. Now, at this point, let's just cover the period, okay, that you have work comp. How do you buy it, or how long do you buy it for? So you buy work comp for a 365-day block. Doesn't have to be a calendar year. That would be convenient, but it doesn't have to be. So whenever your policy effective date is, that's when your work comp policy would start. So if it's January the 10th, it would go to January the 9th of the following year. And the way that it works is kind of interesting. So when you go to your agent and say, I want a work comp policy, the two questions that they're going to ask you are, give me an estimate of your total payroll. And then, of course, the line of work that you do, and they will do the calculation just like we did, for every $100, it could be 5, 8, 10, or 25 cents per $100, depending on whatever the line of work is. And they come up with your annual premium. Again, total payroll times a percentage based on the type of work that you do. That gives you an annual premium. Depending on that annual premium, you either pay that up front, or they will finance it or put it on an installment, so you're not coming out of pocket so much right at the beginning, but you basically pay for your work comp for a 365-day period. At the end of that period, when your policy renews, the work comp company or the insurance company will do an audit. Now, don't panic. Whenever I hear audit, we all know what that sounds like. But an audit in work comp is just simply, hey, you get a phone call, you get an email, the insurance company realizes you're at the end of your policy term, and they say, okay, well, you estimated your payroll and you estimated what the line of work is, and we base your premium on that. Now we want to know what your actual payroll was and what you actually did in your line of work. So this is where someone like me or another ADP or a payroll company would come in very handy, because we've got really good records on that 365-day block of payroll. We provide gross wages for all the different employees and what each employee did, and the insurance company audits that and does a calculation. And if your estimate was under what your actual payroll was, then you're going to owe a few more dollars from that policy period. Now, if your estimate was over what your actual payroll was, you'll actually get a refund. So if you pay more over the course of the 365-day period than what your actual payroll was, you will get that money back. Just like if you're short, you'll have money due. So that's how payroll and workers' compensation works. Now, one quick note here before we tie this up. If you are an owner of a business, you do have the option, at least here in Virginia, I'm not sure about other states, but here in Virginia, you do have the option to be exempt from the coverage. Okay, now you may be counted as an employee, but you can claim exempt and your payroll does not count towards the premium. So that's the good news. The bad news is you just don't have coverage. So if something happens to you and you're the owner, you're just gonna have to pay out of pocket or do something to file your claim under health insurance or something. But you can claim exempt, but again, no coverage for that. And one more thing, this is very interesting. This is very noteworthy. Virginia has set minimums for your salary when it comes time to the audit. Okay, so let's say my line of work is I'm a tax business, and my premium is based on my basically admin work here. And let's say my salary, my dedicated or salary that I pay myself from the company is $20,000. Okay, now Virginia says they have minimums for S corporation owners or sole proprietors or LLC members. And even though my salary may have been $20,000, the actual Virginia minimum for S corporation owners is about $27,000 to $28,000. So when it comes time to do the actual audit and they're looking at your payroll records, I may owe a few extra dollars on my premium because my salary was short of the Virginia minimum. So even though I paid myself $20,000 and the Virginia minimum was $26,000 or $27,000, you can see where I'm going with this. The premium on that's going to be a few dollars more. So something to keep note of for all those people that pay themselves maybe too small of a salary through their own business. If you have work comp, it's got to meet the Virginia minimum. Okay, hope that makes sense. Again, appreciate the support. If there's any questions, please hit me up in the comment section. Write them down below. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Tell your friends. And as always, you can find us on the web at paychecks-plus.com and on YouTube and Facebook at Paychecks Plus. Okay? Thanks so much. Until next time, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.